What is happening, all YouTube warriors out there? Range Day Bro back at it again, and today I'm going to be talking about the top 3 upgrades you can make to your home defense setup when they come out of the box looking like this or like this, and why I believe that these 3 are the most important things you can do to your home defense setup, give you the ability to defend yourself and your home and your loved ones when the time comes. Ever heard a bump in the night, got fully kitted out, grabbed your rig to go downstairs and find out it was your dog playing with some squeaky toys? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, guys. We've all done it. Better safe than sorry, as I always say. That's going to lead me into my number 1 upgrade for your home defense. Rifles, pistols, whatever your setup is, whatever your rig is. The number 1 upgrade I'm going to recommend from going from something like this to a fully kitted out rig, the first thing you should buy is a light. Because you don't want to accidentally shoot your dog or shoot a relative or somebody that doesn't need to be shot, right? There's things that happen all the time. You may not know a kid is up, your wife is up, something like that. If you're going to have a rig that you're going to be going to war with, if you're going to be defending your home with it, you should have a light to identify your target. So what are some of the lights that I would recommend to you guys that I trust my life to? This is the Surefire Scout light. This is a 1500 lumen light. This guy is in their tan anodizing. I really like that. I love the mount that this guy came with. It just sits right on top of the top pick rail. So even if you don't have a quad rail, you could just throw that on any top rail that you have, and it just lays over to the side, hugs the rail really closely. And this is on my Go to War Mark 18 setup, which you guys have seen before, but I don't even have a pressure pad on here because the way this is set up, I'm able to actually actuate this light just using the tail cap right here with the way I grip the pistol. So really great light. I love the mounting mechanism. It kind of allows you to not even need a pressure pad and things like that. You don't need wires hanging off of it. It's very clean, very durable. This guy's 1500 lumens. You could change the head out as well to house one of their, I think they call it the Vampire, the IR version of this. But I really love this light. Streamlined, it hugs the rail really well, stays out of your way, and it's durable as all get out. So, and as you can see, there's some carbon buildup on this because when I don't have the suppressor on here, this thing's just getting blasted by the shockwave of the bullets coming out of it. So it takes a beating, it stays working, continues to work. Battery life is great, throws a nice long beam out there, a little bit of a whiter light, but a great light altogether. And the first one I'd recommend to you guys, proven, battle tested. With that being said, let's move on to another light I recommend highly. And we have it sitting right here. So here we have the Cloud Defensive Owl. This is in their Callahan camo. I love the Owl. A lot of you guys have commented about how big it is. I know it looks big, but on the gun, it doesn't feel big. And in fact, it feels really small and streamlined because the pressure pad is built right in to the mounting mechanism, which I love. So you get a pressure pad with this light. It is a bit more expensive than the Surefire, but you're not really comparing apples to apples because it does come with a pressure pad and the mounting system built right in. You can reverse this on either side. Very easy. It has a tool built in right into the tail cap, which allows you to tighten and loosen the mounting screw. I love this light. It does look big on camera, but I promise you when it's on the gun, it's very streamlined, it flows well, and it's not in your way, it's not in your sight picture at all. Big fan of this light. It's built like a tank, so you get that durability in the size, and you also get a pretty good beam of light. This thing throws out 50,000 candela. It is only 1250 lumens, so 250 less than the Surefire, but I think it gets the job done. I really love this light. If I were to purchase another light for another one of my rigs, it would probably be Cloud Defensive if I had to be honest. Just a big fan of the company as a whole. Haven't had any issues with it, don't expect to. And this pressure pad works great. Anywhere you push it, it doesn't matter. You can push it way in the back, in the middle, in the front. It works every time. So another light I'd recommend that I trust my life to is the Cloud Defensive Owl. Now as far as upgrading a light on a handheld like we have here, this is the Glock 19X. What I'd recommend is the Stream Light. So here we have a TLR1. This is an older version. Not sure how many lumens it is, but it gets the job done, guys. All you need is something to light up the target. In home defense situation, you're probably looking at 10, 15, 25 yards maximum, and that's if you live in a mansion or if you identify something in your backyard. These lights will get the job done. Even these 300 or 400 or 500 lumen lights will give you enough light to identify a target in the dead of night. So on this guy, this is the FNX 45 Tactical. I have the Streamlight TLR1. And on the Gucci build, the Zev OZ9, we have the TLR7. This is a Glock 19 length slide here, so it fits really well flush up against the front of the slide, which I like. Either way, guys, any duty home defense rig you have should have a light on it. That is the number 1 upgrade I would recommend, especially for pistols, considering your pistols already come with iron sights. Some ARs don't come with iron sights. If you don't have iron sights, obviously you need something to aim with. which is going to get me into number 2. And number 2 is a red dot or holographic, specifically the EOTech. EOTech is hands down my favorite because of the size of the window, how bright it gets, and how crisp that circle of death is. So in a home defense situation, you're going to be adrenaline pumping, half asleep. You're not going to want to have to fish around for a little dot or look through an LVPO, for example. The EOTech, having the EXPS 3-2, it has a lower 1/3, so it sits a little bit higher, easier for you to find your dot. Again, all I'm focusing on, guys, is how easy it's going to be for you to defend yourself, right? You want to have it as easy as possible. You want to identify your target. You don't want to be wondering who's there and wandering around stubbing your toes. So have a light on your rig. And after the light, you really want to have a great point of accuracy, point of aim, and a way to quickly acquire that. So the EOTech kind of thrives, in my opinion, on that. And it just jumps ahead of the competition. The only other thing I'd recommend outside of the EOTech is something like the Huey, which is essentially a copy of Vortex's version of EOTech. But I've heard nothing but good things about that. I've never used it, so I cannot recommend it. I love these EOTechs. And having astigmatism, that is the reason I recommend these over something like we have here, which is the holosun 503G ACSS. Now, holosun makes great optics for the price. Now, they are made in China. I try not to send too much business that way. I like to support local US-based companies, and holosun is made overseas, which kind of brings that price point down. If you can't afford an EOTech or an Aimpoint or a high-quality red dot or holographic, or the Huey, for instance, that is up there as well. These holosuns come in pretty cheap. I believe this ACSS 503G runs around $230, something like that. And then obviously I have an upgraded mount on here. This is the ADM mount. That's the only thing I'd recommend. If you're going to go with a budget optic, at least upgrade the mount. It sits in an Aimpoint T2 footprint, so you could find mounts for them aftermarket with a good reputable company. I love ADM. A lot of my aftermarket mounts are ADM, as you can tell. There's nothing wrong with holosun. They actually offer a lot of things that other red dot and holographic sites don't offer, like the shake-awake technology. And I know the industry's kind of catching up with that now finally, but I do love the fact that they offer those innovative type solutions, although they are made overseas and in my opinion, not as duty rated as something like the EOTech or like a Trigicon would be. However, if you don't have the money, it is far superior to iron sights if you have it mounted well. I do have an astigmatism as well. These dots tend to be more of a starburst to me. I thought it was something wrong with the optics. It's not. It's my eyes, in fact. And looking through a holographic sight versus one of these red dots, I can tell the difference night and day. The EOTech is crystal clear, crisp, and this guy is more of a starburst. I've stopped purchasing these for that reason, for rifles specifically, or pistols, AR pistols and AK pistols, because typically you're going to be shooting further out the distance with these things, and that starburst just doesn't lend well to that. This ACSS is great. It has a horseshoe with a chevron and then 3 dots below it for BDC, so I really enjoy that. It works well with a magnifier. If you don't have astigmatism, I'm sure those dots would appear even more crispy to you. Just for me, I'm shying away from these because of my astigmatism. It really does bother me when I'm trying to make accurate shots out the distance, 200-300 yards. So I've kind of shied away from these optics moving forward. However, they are much better than just running iron sights. If you can't afford to have the EOTechs and those expensive optics, go for a holosun. It's better than nothing. So as far as handheld pistols go, this guy, Glock 19X, doesn't come with a RMR cut on here, so you can take it to a gunsmith and have them actually mill it out and put on an RMR cut for you guys. This is what that would look like. This is something I took to Maple Leaf Firearms. They did a RMR cut and placed the rear sight in front of it, which I really enjoyed. On these two guns here, we actually have on this guy, on the FNX 45 Tactical, comes with adapter plates. So I have the holosun 508T on here. Another one I'd recommend. This is their green dot. Light and red dot, as you can tell, are gonna help you tremendously in quickly acquiring your target and identifying your target, obviously. So holosun, and another holosun on the Zev OZ9. This is the 507C with the ACSS reticle. This one is great, especially for new dot users, because it has a circle, reference circle, that you cannot see when your hands are fully extended. When you're fully extended out and looking at your target, it disappears. It's only there for reference. If you can't find your chevron, it kind of helps your brain automatically adjust and tells you which direction to go. Again, a light and a dot are two most critical things that you could have on your home defense setup. Why may I not want to recommend the LVPO? Now on this guy, you can see I kind of have this other holosun sitting up here at the front. It's kind of a joke. I just threw this on for the video to fuck with you guys. The reason I wouldn't recommend LVPO for home defense specifically is because, again, I want to give you the best scenario for which you can defend your life and your family and your loved ones. So looking through a tube like this, although this is one of the best LVPOs in the market, in my opinion, this is the Trigicon Credo 1-8. So it's got a 34 millimeter tube. It's a big tube you're looking through, and it's a true 1x. So on one, you're really not getting any magnification. However, you're still looking through a tube, and it's the middle of the night and you just woke up most of the time. You kind of have to have that perfect sight alignment, get your perfect sight picture, and you're looking through a tube, so you're not going to have as much situational awareness as you would if you were using the EOTech. So obviously, as a joke, I threw this guy up here on a 45. However, in all reality, if you wanted to have one rifle or pistol to do it all, you could go with an LVPO and do a 45-degree offset with an RMR or a holosun or something like that, so that you could use something more two-eye open shooting, so you could have 180 degrees field of sight instead of having to really close one eye, which you don't have to on this 1X. But again, in my experience, and from all accounts of anybody who's ever shot these, they'll most likely agree they are slower than the red dots. This is one of the best LVPOs out there, but if you have one rig and you want an LVPO, go with a 45-degree offset, save up, get something good, and then that way you have a one do-it-all type rig. It is going to add a little bit more weight to your rig, but again, if you're not carrying this around through the mountains, who gives a shit how much it weighs? With that being said, let's get into our number 3 upgrade. And number 3, you may have guessed, is a suppressor. So this is a highly debated topic on the internet. When you have a suppressor, people say don't have a suppressor because the gun sounds louder, it sounds scarier. I'll tell you what, if you ever shot a gun suppressed, still does not sound like Hollywood quiet, doesn't sound like a staple gun unless you're using a 300 blackout with subs, and even then it still sounds more like a paintball gun, which is not quiet either. However, with a 5.56, this gun is still going to be super loud considering you're indoors in a hallway in a bedroom. It's still going to be loud enough to make the intruders realize they're in trouble and this is not a good place to be. They don't want to be there anymore. It's going to give you the ability to communicate effectively, not disorient yourself with the concussion and the blast from the firearm, and it's still going to be loud enough to scare the bad guys away. I know some people say you don't want to use a suppressor because you want your neighbors to hear and call the police. I'd rather use a suppressor and live through the moment and then be able to call the police myself than not use a suppressor, concuss myself, and be disoriented or become dizzy or blow the hearing out of the person next to me that I love and that I care about and not be able to effectively communicate with them. So that's why I recommend a suppressor as a number 3 upgrade. I know it's a bit of a daunting task because you have to buy a tax stamp, you have to wait, all those things, but just trust me, start it now. I actually went through the process during this last election because every election cycle, it seems like gun and gun accessories. This is, in my opinion, a gun safety device, but they're always on the ballot. They're always on the chopping block. People are talking about banning things. So I just decided to just take the leap into the NFA world, and I never looked back. I love these suppressors. I'll never shoot unsuppressed if I can ever help it. So if you haven't yet, just take the leap, guys. You'll never look back. You'll appreciate your past self for doing the paperwork, taking the time, and investing in something like this. And if you go with something like the Dead Air Sandman, which we have here, you can use it on multiple calibers. If you have a 300 blackout, if you have a 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, anything from 300 Win Mag and down, you can use it on. So you buy one suppressor that you can use on multiple platforms. Your hearing is a non-renewable resource. So once you lose it, you can't get it back. Not to mention using this to practice your rig, which is the number 1 thing you really need to do with any home defense setup or any gun that you're planning on using in any realistic situation. You're going to want to practice with it. So the suppressor is also going to help you in practicing with it to maintain and have your hearing for a longer period of time and not damage your hearing permanently. So the suppressor is the number 3 upgrade I believe you should make to your home defense setup. All right, guys, thank you so much for stopping by the channel. If it's your first time, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're a return viewer, thank you for your loyalty, you sexy YouTube warriors. But until next time, stay safe, stay dangerous. Range Day Bro, out.